So today, I got something very special. I have a special guest from here in Toronto, a very talented artist, Duro the Third, who produces some amazing graffiti. Please, tell us exactly what you do.
Thanks for the introduction. I started in 1989 in Scarborough, Ontario, and there's something there called the RT line, which is an extension of the subway. And so there was all these abandoned buildings, and I was just like, you know what? I need to beautify these things. And that's where my career started. And then years later, I went to an art school called Wexford, and then they got me on Mac, and then I got an iPad, and then my career has actually exploded because of this machine right here.
Wow. And like, tell us like how you start like from your idea to creation, because like some of the stuff you do is crazy.
Yeah, the crazier stuff is all on this,
Okay.
right? And so basically, I give clients an option. I'm like, look, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. Take your pick. I go, the easy way, you let me do whatever I want. Right? And the hard way is that we go back and forth and blah, 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 and then the price doubles, whatever. Nobody wants to hear that, right? It's a psychological thing. Nobody wants to hear double of the price. And so what I say a lot of times is like, look, your wall's not that big. So how about I design you something which can be printed out, and you could have so much detail and so much more colors and so much clean lines, which are not possible with spray paint, right? And so that's what I've been doing a lot now, and I do a lot with restaurants and with venues, and especially malls too. I'm doing these massive murals that could not be possible with spray paint in malls.
And before the iPad, were you just like writing, I mean, not writing, but drawing it out on pen and paper, or like how did it work?
Oh my God, I mean, it was pretty earth-shattering how much my life has changed. And so what happened was 3 years ago, I was doing a project for a music festival called Ever After Music Festival. And I'd started painting again because I quit painting for 10 years.
Wow.
And then I came back out of retirement because I saw, Banksy, and it's like the hot thing right now, urban. And I was like, I need to come back out. So I came back out, and I was like, I need a tablet. And I didn't know which one I was gonna get, but I was always an Apple guy. I'm like, let me try this brand new Pro, right? So I got it, and I didn't sleep for 2.5 days. I just couldn't stop drawing. And all these ideas for 20 years were pouring out of me, right? So I started doing that. And then I did the project, everything was fine. I started learning a lot more how to utilize this thing, and the fact that it was recording me. I'd never seen that before. That's amazing, because to show the progress on Instagram, people go nuts.
Of course.
It's all about knowledge, and it's all about seeing exactly how something is done. And then people, they refresh it, and they want to see, how did I do this? How did they do this, right? It's all about the technology interfacing. And then I met all these printers, and they're all like, we can do large format printing for a lot more affordable. I was like, okay. So then I did it once, huge success, then again, and now it's becoming a big part of my business. So it impacted me massively.
I can imagine. I mean, you got some of the work you have there is like unbelievable.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have the iPad, but like what apps are helping you create
Procreate is the core to everything, and then there's another one called InShot too.
Okay.
And another app I use called Rage On, which is an app where you can superimpose your images onto clothing templates.
Oh, cool.
So Rage On.
Rage On.
Yeah, that was huge help. And then Pinnacle Studio.
Right.
And a couple other ones, but those are like the three that changed my life.
So I guess the big question is like, if there's an aspiring artist who wants to get into graffiti, like what's the best way for them to learn? Just like jump into Procreate? Is there any like tutorials? Is there a place they can check?
It depends. I mean, if you want to be a designer, then you get this, right? And but that's kind of where everything's heading.
Yeah.
And so the weird thing that happened after the Banksy film came out, Exit Through the Gift Shop, is that a lot of things started fusing. So people that were into design, like high-end Nikes and all that stuff, they came in. People that actually did graffiti came in, and then there's like this new hybrid of this kid that kind of wants to do it all, but they don't want to do illegal activities. But graffiti is based in illegal activities. That's how you learn, hand styles.
Exactly.
So if you want to be like a designer and like touch on urban stuff, this is the way to go. Right? Because you can kind of grab things and kind of learn. But if you want to be a painter, you got to hit the streets and you got to do that. So it all depends on where you want to go.
And if you're like starting fresh, like I mean, I don't suggest anybody starts going hit the streets, but like, should they start with like, let's say, a big piece of paper on the floor and spray paint, or should they like just like
That's a good question. I actually never thought about that. You need wall texture because different walls take paint differently. Right? So I started on what's called cinder block, because all the buildings in Scarborough were all these like, from cinder block, and they absorb paint really well, which is kind of crappy. And then other like metal absorbs paint amazing, so it reflects it. But basically, you got to start. Now they have indoor spray paint. It's a lot easier now, and now you're not gonna choke like I was back in the day, lead based and right. Starting in '89, things are different back then. And so now it's a lot easier. I'm excited. For kids to.
Do you think like let's say they spray painted or they did graffiti art on a wall? Would they be able to take like a picture and then kind of go over with a pen on their iPad afterwards?
I've done that sometimes. So I'm notorious. I don't do drawings on walls. I just make it up.
You just make it up, right?
Yeah,
well,
every time. That's the best way. But every once in a while, so like some murals are so big they take 2 to 3 days. So I'll come back on the second day and I'm like, I'm not sure about that. So I take a picture with my iPad, and then I draw and I'm like, what do you think of this? And then So it's kind of this incredible virtual reality type of thing with a real picture of the wall.
Right. And like, where do you get like your motivation or your ideas from? Is it just comes to you naturally? Do you go for a walk? Like,
you know, when I went to art school, they told me you're naturally good. You're a natural painter,
right?
And you're naturally good with colors.
Okay.
And it just that's basically, I think, my highest skill is to respect the client and to be a storyteller. Okay. That's all I am. I'm a storyteller with spray paint or in the digital
Basically
realm.
taking the message from the client and then putting it into visuals, right?
Yeah, and a lot of times I'll give them better ideas they never even thought of.
Right.
And I'm like, no, we got to show this. We got to show this. And they're like, wow, we never thought of that.
Course, yeah.
Because they're all fixated on a certain like this season
idea
we show this,
or whatever it is. Yeah.
And I'm like, no, show the history, show this, and they're all like, wow, this guy's nuts.
Yeah.
This guy's like trying to Scorsese the project, right? Like, you gotta show background, you gotta show this. And then when it's done, especially like the Hilroy job that I did, that was their 100-year anniversary.
Okay.
And I mean, I put stuff in there that they never thought of, and they were so happy. Right. And then they bought the image, and then they put it up on folders and stuff. It was great. It was available on Walmart. It was awesome.
Cool. So what is some of your like favorite work that you've done? Like,
I mean, okay, so I'll start off small, right? So that's like a basic illustration for Hero Ice Cream, and he contacted me about a year ago, and he's like, "Hey, bro, I love what you do. Can I hire you to do something like this?"
Yeah.
And something like this doesn't cost that much because it was only a 5-hour illustration, right? So basically, it's like we're from Canada, right? So it's like made in the 6, and then we got the whole basketball, and then we got dairy, and then we got high protein, then we got a superhero. So it's all about the story, the montage. So that's like a small project, and now I'll show you like a big time psycho massive project.
Right.
So this is EGLX. So this is the history of video games, right? And basically, I'll do it like this. So I was like, okay, video games started in the arcade. So then there's the arcade, and there's Donkey Kong, stuff like that. And then it goes on to like,
so cool.
Video games. And then I started touching on the new stuff.
Yeah.
Right? So the new stuff is right here. It's like the high-end Asus, like computers,
motherboards,
motherboards, exactly.
Yeah.
And then we got new school characters. So what's this guy's name? I forget. He's from like a big time.
He's from, oh my God.
Fallout,
yeah. Fallout boy.
Fallout.
Yeah.
And then throughout the entire mural, it was just a montage of like classic video games, new video games, Cursor, sports games. But then I put in all the logos of all the enthusiastic companies that were involved. And then we got the logo in the middle. Then in 1942, we got Burnout, we got Ethernet. And so this is kind of like level 10 insanity, right? And this was printed out 60 feet by 12 feet, and it was the highlight of the entire show, and we're still working closely with them. And what they loved was my passion and my storytelling abilities, and then it all ends with like, wireless and enthusiastic. So that's how hardcore it can go.
Yeah.
Here's another one I just did. So this right here is an eating area in the biggest staffing agency in all of Scarborough. So they staff 10,000 people.
Okay.
This is their eating area, and they wanted something fun and they wanted something crazy.
That's pretty cool.
So I went way crazier than they ever anticipated. So in the background, you can actually see Scarborough, and they started on BlackBerry and Roots and Culture, and this was a guy who passed away who was integral to their company. They all went to the University of Guelph, Scarborough Lifestyle. So then they started, I go, give me a list, give me a list.
Yeah.
It's all about the list, right? And then through that list, I dictate what are the best key points that the average person who doesn't know anything about them would be attracted to, right? So it's like they all went to Shoeless Joe's, and I have lots of other things here, but I'll go through it. So then they were like, you got to draw this Brentling. And I was like, why? And they're like, well, they get it after 10 years of working there. I'm like, I didn't know that. That's pretty cool. So then you put 10 years Brentling, and then iPad Workforce, and then obviously they're huge fans of the Raptors, and then we got Vince Carter, and then we got Toronto Blue Jays because they won in 94 and 93. And then we got Toronto, we got Pride, we got Popsicle Pete, another guy who used to work there. Yeah, there you go. And there's the Scotiabank Center, which is now called, what's it called? Now it's called Scotiabank Center. It used to be called ACC. That's Skydome. I'm always going to call it Skydome. I'm not going to call it Rogers Center. That's when we won. Travel Lodge, Aero. Now these right here, this is the United States. Yeah. And this is all their other offices. Right. Right? So we got Florida, Pennsylvania, Nashville, Texas. And each font I match to like the aesthetic of that state. Right, of course. Right? And then, so then there's an airplane flying, going international, and then we got a bat, whatever. And then we got Drake, of course, started from the bottom. Now we're here. Because basically the owner, who I still talk to, it's like he started very humbly. Now he built this monster company. Right. So they're very proud of that. Of course. I guess they're big fans of Popeye's Chicken. So Jordan's Tupac died in Vegas. And then we got Rocky. And then we got all this stuff. Also, so cool, basically, I'm showing, and then we end up with Bluffers Park in Scarborough. So it's the story of Scarborough, and it's the story of how they evolved. Yeah. And so that was a huge success. And let's show you a couple other ones. So let's show you, okay. So this was the first thing I started doing when I jumped on iPad. And I'm obsessed with the 80s, obsessed. Oh, and especially Saved by the Bell, right? Nice. So then I just started doing like, okay, let's take
awesome.
80s lyrics and throw them with 80s aesthetics and make clothing out of it and like stuff like that. So this is my most popular one. This is peanut butter.
Yeah.
And you're gonna see this on a bunch of products. It's already been, but now there's gonna be a toy coming out and a bunch of other things which I'm not allowed to talk about. But anyways, so here we go. And the whole thing is that because these are in layers, we can actually move them around and do stuff to them. And that's really important for clothing. Because depending on what area the clothing is, it has to look a certain way. So you might have to move things around.
So are these like fonts you make, or are these fonts?
This is all hand drawn.
Hand drawn.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, all of these things are hand drawn, because that's the gimmick. That's another thing that I discovered. When people know that you drew something, they like it way better than just adding a font, because anybody can do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's like everyone knows. The best compliment I ever get is when people are like, I know when you did something.
Right.
And that makes me happy, because that means I have a style.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's all anybody wants in this world, is like to be acknowledged.
Yeah.
Right? Here's a gym I did called Level Wellness. This one's pretty nuts. And again, they wanted me to do a mural, and I was like, no. I go, the wall's not big enough. I think the wall was like 14 feet by 9 feet. I'm like, you want me to design you a design.
Right.
So now this is on all their clothing and the stickers and stuff.
Yeah.
And so here we go. Like, here we go. We got martial arts. We got those ropes that everybody uses nowadays.
Yeah.
You got this. We got a powerful woman in the middle doing health and fitness. We got a guy rock climbing, skates. Like, this one's pretty nuts. Like, this is, I would say, medium detailed to like high detail.
Right.
And their logo is always in the middle and expands on it. So that's the story of Level Wellness. Yeah. And that's kind of how my brain works.
Yeah, no,
you know, I respect the logo and then I expand upon it. You know.
Yeah. So Joe, this has been awesome. Like your work is unbelievable. Like,
I try. More to come. More to come.
How can people find you? Where can they go?
Duro the Third. Duro the Third
on Instagram.
On Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube,
awesome.
on LinkedIn. Yeah, all there.
And obviously, I'll place all those links in the description down below. Thank you so much, Joe, for being part of this.
Pleasure.
And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.